Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for this month's Currently Inked for July 2024. For this month I wanted to do a little bit of a social experiment, sort of, kinda, for myself. I wanted to kind of compare my writing experience or my enjoyment of the writing experience when I use very expensive pens and then when I use very inexpensive pens. I'm going to try not to use the word cheap because I don't want to belittle these pens. I pretty much enjoyed all of them just as much as the more expensive pens, which I kind of knew going into, but I just really wanted to have a whole month to use these side by side and kind of gauge the experience. So I'm going to go through each of these. Most of these expensive ones I think I've shown on the channel in one form or another. Quite a few of them have dedicated reviews, and this is one of them. I do believe this was my first Mont Blanc. I may have had a vintage Mont Blanc, but I think this was my first one. And I've talked about this quite a bit. This is a very sentimental pen to me, the Mont Blanc JFK. It does remind me of my grandmother and a story that she told me about the day that JFK was killed, and you know, how she heard about it and how she was feeling about it. So that's the JFK. And then we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande Supernova Primary Manipulation Jonathan Brooks resin. I've shown that quite a bit on the channel. And this is a fairly new pen to me, if I can get it out. This is the My Aura Liberta, and the colorway is Pulsar. I bought this from Atlas Stationers. And this was a last chance sale. So I got this for quite a bit of a discount. And next, another pen I've talked quite a bit about is the Pinida La Grande Bellezza Mystery Filler. This is the Black Russian. I bought this from Emmy at Pen Venture a few years ago. And a recent Christmas purchase, I do believe. This is a Pelikan M1000. A very nice pen. And my favorite Visconti, this is a Visconti, I'm sure to say my favorite Homo sapiens. This is a Visconti Homo sapiens. This is the dark crystal. And then we're going to get into the lesser expensive pens. It's the Lamy Vista. I've talked quite a bit about how much I love this pen. We have a Pilot Kakuno. A Platinum Preppy that I haven't used very much, but I wanted to include that in this video. We have a Muji aluminum fountain pen. This is good for art. A lot of artists like to use that pen. And then we have a Hongdian Blue Forest. And this is a Atotash FF10T. And I've had this pen for a while, but I just pulled it out this month and kind of had no idea why I haven't used it. I just really enjoyed writing with this pen this month. So all of the expensive pens were pretty much, I paid more than $500 for them. The Liberta was $499.50. I felt that was close enough, but I really wanted to include that one in this list. The MSRPs are quite a bit more. Like the JFK has the MSRP of $1,255. And as much as I love it, as much as it is sentimental, I could never see myself paying that much for that pen. But it is what it is. Let's see. The Liberta, the price on that varies quite a bit. It says here $9.99 from Atlas Stationers. I've seen them up to $12.50, but I've never seen the actual selling price around here. They've always been, from what I've seen on, of course, on Atlas and Chartered Luxuries, they're always in the $500 range. I mean, we all know that the Homo sapiens are pretty expensive, but for the most part, all of these were bought at a pretty good discount. For the inexpensive pens, they're all less than $25. MSRP. Let's see here. The most expensive here is the Lamy Vista. I paid $20.70 for that. It has an MSRP of about $25, but the prices vary on that. I think Endless Pens has it on sale for $18, and it's very much worth it. My least expensive pen on this list is the Platinum Preppy, and this was $7.81, and it came with several ink cartridges. And the Otto was $11.79. Unfortunately, I'm not really seeing the Otto Tash for sale from retailers. You can find it on the used market. It looks like it's been discontinued. I think I saw a couple of listings on eBay for $99. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but $11.79 is pretty good. So I recommend this pen if you can find it for $11.79. It's been really enjoyable. It is a small pen, but I'll go through all the writing samples and everything in a bit. And even when I wrote this, all the prices and everything out, all the specs, I wrote this side, this expensive side, I wrote it using this Graphon Faber-Castell Classic, and what is this wood? Macassar wood. Pretty pricey pen. And this side was written with a Sharpie gel pen. Of course, I'll admit that this performed way better than the Sharpie. There's no comparison for that, but this is a super expensive ballpoint, but a pleasure to write with. So let's start with some writing samples. I'm going to start with the Mont Blanc. And this Mont Blanc is a fine 14 karat gold nib. You cannot post this. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the writing samples real good. Get all this stuff out of the way. And make sure I'm in frame. Okay. So this is the Mont Blanc. John F. Kennedy. This is a fine 14 karat gold. I have this ink with Mont Blanc Mystery Black. I do want to try some dark red ink in this at some point. And there's the Mystery Black. And there's the Mont Blanc. Of course, it functions flawlessly, no complaints. It's kind of a, it's not very heavy. It looks kind of heavy, but for me, you know, without the cap, it's pretty comfortable. But a beautiful pen. And again, MSRP, $1,255. Next, we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande Supernova. Beautiful pens, beautiful Jonathan Brooks resin. I have number 92 of 199. It's a beautiful nib. And my issue with this one is that it always has a little bit of ink down there. And my hands are always dirty after using my Leonardos with ebonite feeds. And this one has an MSRP of $695, which makes that leaking even more frustrating. But it's a beautiful, beautiful writer. Supernova has a long name. Primary manipulation, I think this is 2. And this is a fine 14 karat as well. And it has a typical fine line. You see the Mont Blanc has quite a bit of a thicker fine line to it than the Leonardo. And the Leonardo is inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Kujaku, which is the ink that I pretty much keep in this pen all the time. And this is also a comfortable pen. It looks big and bulky and weighty, but it isn't. Like I said, my only complaint is that leaking down at the end of the section. We have the Mayora Liberta, and this is 1 of 1. The color is 1 of 1. There's only one pulsar. So Mayora Liberta, and this is pulsar. And this is a fine. All these are fine. This is a nice bouncy nib. Has a nice bit of line weight variation. It's also nice in reverse. This pen is very comfortable. It also has a fairly thick, chunky body and section, but for me, it's very, very comfortable. Just very nice to write with. This color, it's okay. This is made out of ebonite, and it is a piston filler. And this is the nib. Beautiful 14 karat gold nib. Yeah, I really happy with this pen. Very happy that I ran across it and got that good discount at Atlas Stationers. And next we have the Peniter La Grande Bellezza Mystery Filler, Black Russian. Had some love and hate issues with this pen going back a ways, but I think I've gotten everything pretty much settled. Had this little piece of foil here that came off, but now I super glued it, and now it has kind of a nice copper patina to it. And this is the filling mechanism. It locks in place when you're using it, and then to fill it, you unlock it, and then you're able to twist the piston knob. So it's just like that. And I keep the same ink in this. I use Birmingham Pen Company, Boil Steam. La Grande Bellezza. Another long name. La Grande Bellezza Mystery Filler. Black Russian. And there is a white one as well, or a clear one. Sugar, I think it's called. And this is a fine flex, 14 karat. And you can see here how flexy it is. And this flex took me quite a bit of getting used to. But that's the La Grande Bellezza. For a while there, this was never out of my my case that I carry to work. I don't carry it as much now. I'm kind of handling it kind of gently, but yeah, I have grown to really love this pen. And it's beautiful. It's probably one of my prettiest pens that I have. And now we have the Pelikan M1000. Look at that beautiful nib. So it's a big one. A beautiful 18 karat gold nib. I'm going to switch to my left hand here for a minute. So, Pelikan. I got this at a pretty good price off of eBay. The MSRP on these are $803, and I got it for $529. And this is a fine 18 karat. And it's a kind of a thick fine, just like the Mont Blanc. And this is inked with Mont Blanc Irish Green. This is probably going to be the ink that stays in here. This is another nice bouncy nib. I'll try not to spring it a little bit too much. This ink is very wet. I love this pen. It does look a little big, but I think this is like the perfect size compared to the other Like the M600 and the 200, yes, it is big, but once you get it in the hand, I think it's just the perfect size. And that's how these look so far. The Mont Blanc Irish Green, the Bowler Steam, and the Inspired Blue, Kujaku, and the Mystery Black. All of these inks I really enjoy. And lastly, we're going to write a bit with the Homo sapiens. So this is the Visconti Homo sapiens. Dark crystal. And this is a medium 18 karat. You see this medium is thinner than the Pelican Fine. Another springy nib. The line weight variation is not as impressive as the Pelican or the Peniter. Nice in reverse. And there's that nib. And you can see that I use Monteverde Mulberry Noir. That's the ink that I always use in here. You can see that it's kind of staining that a little bit. But beautiful pen. And it has the hook lock safe mechanism to keep the cap on nice and tight. So those are the pricey pens. They all did well. A lot of smearing there. The Pelican the ink is still wet. But all are very nice flowing pens. The Visconti is a little bit on the dry side, but it's a good dry, I think. So let's get on to the least expensive pens. My favorite of the least expensive pens is this one by far. So we have the Lamy Vista. And this is of course, a fine steel. It is a very firm, as I've stated before in my other videos, very, very firm. So very nice to journal with and take notes. It's just a plain, simple, no frills Lamy. And I do have one Safari, but for some reason I gravitate towards this Vista more than Safari. I also have some AL Stars that I enjoy. I just can't bond with that one Safari that I have for some reason. And next we have the Pilot Kakuno. Pilot Kakuno was a whopping $13.98. And I do believe it came with a cartridge or two. So this is the Pilot Kakuno. And I wrote this dry, so I had to put in a new cartridge. Pilot Kakuno. Fine steel. This is a super fine. The ink hasn't traveled down yet. I just put the cartridge in before starting the video, so this is not indicative of the writing experience. The fact that I wrote it dry, I think, says more about it than anything. So that's a Pilot Kakuno. Nice clear. I'm guessing you could. Would you? I don't know if there are any holes in here. I think there are some holes down here, so I guess you couldn't eyedropper it. Yeah, there's 2 holes down there. But that's the Kakuno. And in the Vista, I have Diamond Oxford Blue, which is going to be my ink of choice in that one. And for the Kakuno, I just have it's just a black cartridge. Pilot Namiki black cartridge. And now we have the Preppy, which was $7.81, plus a bunch of ink cartridges. Now the one thing about this Preppy, it does write well, but it actually does feel like a $7 really inexpensive. For this, it does feel kind of cheap, but it writes really, really well. Platinum, hopefully I didn't say Pilot, but Platinum Preppy. This is also a fine, right? It's a fine. Yeah, I think the only medium I had was that one Visconti. So this is a fine steel nib. It writes really nice. It's firm just like the other two. But you can definitely tell when you write with this that it feels, you know, it feels like its price point, which is fine, but it's a good pen, which is most important. It's a pleasure to write with, which I think is the most important thing. Here's the nib, nothing special. A nice platinum nib. Nice fine that flows very nicely. And it's inked with Private Reserve Blue Suede, which I also think is going to be the ink of choice for this one. And next we have the Muji. And the Muji was $16.20. Not bad. It's aluminum. It's very light. It's also thin. So that may not be for everyone. So we have it's just called the Muji Aluminum. Not a very fancy name. Aluminum fountain pen. But this has a nice, very nice springy nib. Fine steel nib. Not too much line weight variation, but a little bit. But just has a nice bounce to it and writes nice in reverse. And a lot of people use it in reverse to do cross hatching and that sort of thing. But yeah, I really like this. And for this month, I put Visconti Sunflowers. And it's probably not the ink of choice for that pen. It's probably, since I'll use it for art, it's just put a basic black in there. But just that Sunflowers is one of my favorite inks. Usually, you'll see this month, I kind of stuck with the blues and the greens, as I usually do. The Sunflowers was really my only step away from the blue and green. And there are a couple blacks mixed in, but I really do enjoy the Sunflowers. The Sunflowers came with a Visconti Van Gogh pen. I guess was it the Sunflowers pen? I don't know if I have a Sunflowers pen, so I'm not sure how I got that ink. Maybe it was in a Trufe box or something, because I don't have a Visconti Van Gogh Sunflowers. Next we have the Hongdian Blue Forest. And another thing that I tried to do this month was not to have any of the inexpensive pens to be rip-offs of expensive pens. I kind of cheated a little bit with this one because this is kind of a knockoff of the Faber-Castell. But this pen and my Cross ATX, they were so instrumental in my fountain pen journey that I had to include it. Although it is a bit of a copy of the Faber-Castells or the Graph Bond Faber-Castells. And this one, I had a little trouble with it because of the ink that I used. So yeah, it doesn't want to start, and it's definitely not indicative of the pen. It is the ink. I totally picked the wrong ink for this, so I'm going to go and wet this a bit and come back. So we have the Hongdian. This is the Blue Forest. And I have all the forests. I have the green, I have the black, I have the white. This is a fine steel forest. Pretty firm nib. It does have a little bit of give, not too much. It's nice in reverse. And the ink that I have in here, which it didn't like at all, was this KWZ Sheen Machine. Yeah, it just dried it up. But it does look good on paper. And once you get the ink flowing, it looks really nice. I love this ink. I think it just needs to be in something that's has a little bit thicker of a nib, or wider of a nib. But I love that sheen. So that's the Hongdian Blue Forest. And that was $17.99. I think you can get them $1 cheaper nowadays. And lastly, we have the Auto Tosh. Tosh. This is how it's spelled. Tosh. And you see how small it is there. But once you cap it, and it has a nice smooth capping mechanism. It reminds me a bit of the Pilot Elite E95. And it, becomes pretty much a full-size pen. It is, though, very, like I said before, very, very thin. Auto, but it is a nice writer. I can't believe I sat on this for so long. This is going to be an everyday carry. I'm just going to put it in my bag and just keep it there. Very firm, but very smooth. It has a nice, fairly thick line in reverse. It does a little bit different in reverse than a lot of other pens. And all that's in here is just a plain old, I think it's maybe a Dryden cartridge. It's nice, very nice. But if you're prone to cramping, you wouldn't like this at all. A very nice pen. And I paid, again, $11.79 for it. And again, these are all the writing samples for these inexpensive pens. So the highlights of the month, by far, it was the Pelikan M100. This was my favorite pen to write with. Did I say M100? M1000. Pelikan M1000 was by far my favorite to write with this month. The comfort and that nib and the wetness is just beautiful. Other standouts has to be the Lamy Vista and the Pilot Kakuno and the Auto. Actually, the Auto, I think, will go before the Kakuno. So these were my favorites to write with. As you can see, there's one expensive here and 3 inexpensive pens. Now, all these others were very, very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. Like, this was a good month. I don't have complaints about any of these pens. The only trouble I had was this one. It wasn't the fault of the pen at all. But these are definitely the standouts that I really enjoyed when I picked them up. And again, these are all great too. But I guess at the end of the day, it's not really the price. Yes, it's nice to have these nice, beautiful works of art here. Yeah, I love it. But you can still enjoy the fountain pen experience, the writing experience, with an $11 pen, $10 pen, $20 pen. But, I mean, if you can, and if you only want to maybe treat yourself to one expensive pen, I really don't think you can go wrong with a Pelikan M1000 or M800, even the smaller 600. It depends on your hand size. The nib is pretty bouncy. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a big nib. But I think this pen is just super comfortable, just super wet. Yeah, I guess if you don't like wet pens, this probably wouldn't be good either. But just enjoyable to write with. I mean, all of them were really. It was a good month. The JFK is beautiful. This is beautiful. It's just, again, the leaking. I enjoyed this with the Waterman Inspired Blue. And this is always good with the Boiler Steam, I think. Yeah, Boiler Steam, Birmingham Pen Company Boiler Steam. And again, this is always inked with Monteverde Mercury Noir. And this is my favorite Visconti One, because of the way the nib writes, and because of this ink window. I have so much trouble with my other Viscontis with them getting the right amount of ink in them. I know Doodlebud did a video a month or two ago about having the same issue filling his Visconti, and there's some issue with the little rubber gasket or something, so maybe I need to get those. But I have one pen in particular that I can't seem to get a good feel on it, and it doesn't help if I can't see how much ink is in it. So that's why I love this one. And you're actually supposed to be able to see through here too, but I'm never able to see through that point. And again, the Vista has been one of my best purchases, as have the Gakuno. I have this one isn't fine. I also have a medium. The Preppy was surprising to me. I haven't written with this month very much. I've had it for almost a year, and I haven't written with it very much until now, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it does feel pretty cheap, but it's a good writer, which is all that really matters. The Muji is always a good writer, as is the Hongdian, and this was definitely a pleasant discovery. I just had it sitting around, just totally ignoring it, and it's just a gem. So that's all I have for this month. I am going to take probably most of this month off. I probably will come back with my August currently inked, I hope. My last few videos been kind of not too much interest in them, it seems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do like a little refresh, maybe change some camera angles. I'm going to move my setup here to another room so I can do more face-to-face. That room has a little bit better lighting, so I'll try to do some face-to-face stuff. Just try to spice up my videos a little bit. Unfortunately, my drawl, I'm from the backwoods of Virginia, so I speak very slow, and I am a extreme introvert also. So a combination of that, I like to really think about what I'm going to say before I say it, so I tend to talk very slow, and I can't change that. That's just me. So hopefully, you'll get past that. But I am going to I want to start doing more ink swatching videos and some paper reviews and that sort of thing. So I'm going to take a few weeks, maybe a month, to switch up a little bit and do that. And I'll see you back then. So thank you all of you that stuck by me. Thank you for your support and your kind words as always, and I will catch you later. Take care.